Welcome to Thriving with Chiropractic, where Dr. Mosier from Mosier Family Chiropractic shares a variety of topics designed to empower, inspire, and give hope. Take a few notes and enjoy the lesson.
Hey folks, this is Dr. Mosier here, and I am so excited. I have a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, Dr. Brubaker. Now, we have been working together, 5-6 years. He's actually starting to see my gray hairs come into fruition. But, besides having an awesome, successful practice, and then he kind of transitioned to more of a coaching style. He specializes in getting docs who are not trained at all in how to run a business, not trained in at all how to open a practice. He helps them open, be successful in helping people, because that's what chiropractors do. We unlock the potential of the spine, and the healing just happens. We're not miracle workers. We just work for the guy that does. But, Dr. Jeremy Brubaker is phenomenal at helping other chiropractors, and he's really been a blessing in my life. So, Dr. Brubaker, I got to ask you, what is your chiropractic story? Why in the world are you a chiropractor?
Oh, Dr. Chris, I appreciate you having me on today. It's my pleasure, and thanks for the kind words. Why am I a chiropractor? Well, most chiropractors have a story, right? Of how did they end up in this crazy profession that we call chiropractic. And I'm no different. I have one. So I'll try to give you the short version. But it really started back when I was a young child. I used to suffer with chronic ear infections. And, as a chiropractor, you and I are both aware of chiropractic's role and effect on ear infections. Well, my parents didn't know that. They didn't have somebody like you, sharing the wonders of chiropractic with their patients and with their community. So unfortunately, I suffered. That was just my normal routine. Ear infections, seemed like monthly at the time, but y'all probably have heard of tubes they put in your ears as well. And I had 4 or 5 sets of tubes in my ear. And if you know anything about the eardrum, it's kind of like a percussion drum. It's not good when there's a hole in your drum, right? it will affect that. And the eardrum, in principle, works real similar to a drum. So after somebody's poked multiple holes into your eardrum, it's not a great thing for your ears and your hearing, long term. So that was my, experience as a child with ear infections. Now, how did chiropractic come into this? My father, who was a laborer, right, blue collar worker, had what's called bulge disc, right? And some of your patients, I know you're familiar with that. That is not a good deal. And the treatments for that still not real great. I mean, you've got surgical, is an option. It's really not a great option because the success rate is maybe 33% of an operation. My father had a smart neurologist and an even smarter chiropractor who both said, hey, buddy, if you can get through the next couple of years with this and manage this conservatively, you're going to be way better off than going under the knife and all that stuff. That made an impact on me, because you've ever seen your father struggle or be on the floor essentially crying as a young child, that makes you don't expect your dad to have to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and sure enough, the chiropractor and the neurologist were absolutely correct. They managed his case with chiropractic. And to this day, he doesn't have problems with that L5 disc. It actually healed, right? That's what the body's designed to do if you give it time and the right support. So I said this is short, maybe it's not the short version, but at the same time, he was seeing the chiropractor for his low back. He said, you know what, my kid walking around the house, moving his neck, doing this, and it's going clunk, 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 right? It's making a snapping noise, and the chiropractor goes, well, that doesn't sound normal. Bring him in. Let's check him out. Let's just see what's going on. Yeah. And sure enough, long story short, he found a problem in my upper cervical region of my neck, right? The C1, C2, the atlas area. got it adjusted, the clicking into my neck went away.
Mm.
But lo and behold, my ear infections went away too.
Yes.
Right. And so I didn't go to him for ear infection. I went from because my dad and the clicking in my neck and the ear infections, my ear infections went away. I hadn't had one since. So that was kind of a light bulb moment for me at a young age to go, maybe there's something to this chiropractic stuff. And fast forward, many, many years later, here we are talking about chiropractic.
Awesome. Oh, I love it. I love it. That reminds me of, if the boys, Isaiah or Isaac, they tug on their ear or anything, Ellen is just on me. Hey, adjust their atlas. Get, we don't want to have an ear infection. So funny. And I have so many patients, especially dads, that are just like, I don't feel like I can be the dad that I'm called to be, the dad I'm meant to be, because, I can't even bend over and pick up my kids, just the act of, you got a crib and you got to lean over those railings and everything. And you got to lean over. Well, there's a lot of dads that come in and they're like, I can't do that. So, you talking about your dad, that really resonates with a lot of our patients that come in here. So speaking of, oh, you were going to say something.
Well, no, I was just going to follow back up going, in our, as a kid, he was the sole provider, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our whole family hung in the balance with his health. It just did. And I know that's true for many families out there. Not only the quality of life, but just putting food on the table. So to say my life was affected by chiropractic is an understatement from my experience. So
absolutely. So my next question for you, Doc, is a patient story. What's a memorable story? Because I know you had a massive practice, seeing tons and tons and tons of people. We could just spend 3 or 4 hours just telling stories. But what's a memorable one?
Well, like you said, there are bunches and bunches of those stories, but there's always one. I say that, but there's at least one that always bubbles to the top, and it has to do again with a young child. His name was Anthony, and make sure I remember all the details. There was a bunch of them, but his mother came to the office dealing with just excruciating low back and abdominal pain, and had been to the down the medical route and no answers. She even said, it felt like she was giving labor, right? So I've never done that, and I don't think you have either. But the ladies out there that have done that, that's quite a statement to say that's what condition she was in when she came to the office. Fast forward with her, of course, got under care, found the root cause of her problem, which was a misalignment in her spine, putting pressures on her nerves. Once you get that corrected, the body does its thing, right? And you're back to playing with her kids and being the mom she wanted to be, all that good stuff. But that's not the success story. Is my favorite. My favorite is their son, Anthony. Anthony was a preemie, right? He was born premature. And with that came a lot of, what I want to say, just dysfunction in his health, right? Everything from acid reflux, the gait problems, developmental delays, torticollis. I don't know if your patients have ever heard of torticollis, but that's when basically the neck muscles are drawing and spasming, and they just will not let go. And they do some crazy things to try to fix that problem. But anyhow, that was Anthony's life. Seeing neurologists, gastroenterologists, ENTs, physical therapists, orthopedists. I mean, you name it, this kid had a team of medical professionals trying to help him, right? His orthopedics was even considering putting braces on his legs, right? He's at that point. Because he'd come into the office, he'd take 2 steps and literally he'd be laid out on the floor, right? And then 2 more steps. So fast forward with Anthony, and his mother's like, well, I got great success with chiropractic. Do you think you could help Anthony? And I'm like, I have no idea. If he's subluxated, if he has a misalignment, there's a good likelihood we'll be able to help him. We'll bring him in, let's check him out. Got some pictures of him, did our thing in chiropractic. And, and this isn't I can't be too conservative of the results with Anthony, but his life got changed with
Yeah.
chiropractic. Not only did, his reflux, his developmental delays, his flat out his walking, it all improved. It all improves. Anthony then, now I was almost sorry to a certain point because he would then be just like a terror in the office. He'd run in down the hallway. I mean, he's just buzzing in the office. He's not tripping and falling. I say that jokingly. It's just awesome, to see his life turn around. Less medications, right? Started to get off all of his medications. Up and down steps without assistance. Playing with his sister. Just independence that Anthony gained through chiropractic. And people would always ask me, well, how on earth could chiropractic help all that? Right? Is a question. It's a question in the office. Now, did we treat his acid reflux or his developmental delays? Did we treat, heck, I never adjusted his legs. How on earth did that happen? It really came down to the fact that we got to the underlying cause of the dysfunction, which is the pressure being put on his nerves by those spinal misalignments, stemming way back from his childbirth when he was a preemie. So I go on and on, but Anthony just always comes up in my mind of just, now, what does that mean for him to, that day, but more importantly, the next 20 years of his life, 30 years of his whole rest of his life. To me, that's why I do chiropractic. Why is, to see a life that's going to be different from here on in because of something we were able to play a part in, a small part. And that's just removing that pressure off the nerve, allowing his body to do what it's designed to do. So,
well, now I'm curious because how old would you guess Anthony is now?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'm making you do math on the spot, on camera.
He was 2 years old when he came into the office. And now you're trying to age me just because I got a little more gray in my beard than you do. I understand what you're doing. I would have to say Anthony is probably about 16, 17.
So Anthony is probably driving a car, dating a cheerleader probably, or something like that. He's probably the top athlete in his class. He's, instead of, the pathway that he was on, now he's on a totally different pathway, I would venture to guess. Without any hesitation, I would agree with that. That's right. Awesome.
Different outcome for him. And again, he'd been to every expert that there is for his cases. And it's just, it always warms my heart when he ends up in the chiropractor's office and we say, you know what, I think we can help.
We got patients saying, I don't know if you can help me. I've been everywhere. This is my last straw. This is my last resort. Let's see if this, big, beautiful, bearded chiropractor can help me.
Nice.
Okay, maybe they don't say I'm beautiful, but whatever. I like to throw that in there. So my last question is, you kind of switched gears, from a private practice to leading other chiropractors. So what is your mission in chiropractic? What is your goal? What is your vision? Where are you going?
I gotcha. Well, that's a big. I think that's a big question because I get asked that same question. Going, do you miss necessarily day-to-day patient encounters? And I do, right? I miss the Anthonys of the world, but my mission is you. You're a great example, Dr. Chris, of what my mission is. And what I mean by that, again, I don't know who all is going to see this interview, hopefully a lot of your patients do. But whether you know this or not, Dr. Mosier is rapidly becoming one of the leaders in chiropractic from Salem, Indiana, right? And that's my mission, is to create more leaders like you out there in the community, just seeing patients after patients and getting the results that you're getting with your patients is my mission. Does that make sense? I love to one-on-one with patients, but if I can help Dr. Mosier and the thousands and thousands of patients that you see and change their lives, that's the big mission of Mom, man, is getting chiropractic out to the masses.
Well, now you're just buttering my heart now.
That's true. I know. I don't give compliments very often, but so enjoy this moment.
Well, I do. I am. Because we've been in the gym together before on these conferences, and you're always saying, "Oh, one more rep," pushing me. So never got any compliments then. So I'm going to absorb this compliment now.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Doc, do you have any final thoughts? Anything that you think this audience really needs to hear?
Oh, that's a good question. I think what most folks need to hear, especially at this moment in time, is that there's hope. There's hope. There's help for your health, and that might be a opposing thought process to what they hear in the environment where there is no hope, where you have no say or no control. You need something outside of your control for your health, and to me that's a huge disservice to most people, especially to most patients that don't have our background in healthcare. They don't have our education. They haven't spent 5,000 hours in school learning about health and how it works. They don't have that. They're taking sometimes at face value just what they hear, I would say, on the internet, but that's where we're at. So don't take this at face value either. Do your own research. Yeah. But I think a message that I would share is they have more say about their health and their future this time in history than ever. They can educate themselves at such a high level. There's doctors like you out in communities, being a leader, being a health, say there is an alternative, right? There is a conservative approach, and it's only smart, right, in healthcare to go least invasive to most invasive for your healthcare. And I'm not saying there isn't times where that's necessary. I mean, I fracture my leg, I'm going to have somebody fix it, right? I'm not going to that same place for healthcare. I'll go there, crisis care, but healthcare, I'm coming to guys like you that are going to equip me with good nutrition, who are going to equip me with proper spinal hygiene, if you will, right? To take care of this, like take care of my teeth. I wait till all my teeth rot out and go to the dentist. I can tell you how that's going to go, right? Yeah. I can get my teeth replaced. I can't replace my health and my spine and my nervous system. So if there was a message that I wanted to share with your audience is take control of your health. You never win athletic events, and you're not going to win in your health playing defense. You've got to be offensive. You got to be on the offense and being proactive. Go get your spinal adjustments. Take care of your nutrition, right? You mentioned exercise. Fundamentally, you don't hear this message a lot in our culture, but you're not going to shortchange. You're not going to shortcut health. It's never going to come from a pill or potion or a bottle. It's going to come from you taking an active role in your health.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, your headaches, your migraines is not due to a lack of aspirin in your bloodstream.
It's just true. Yeah. So, and if you can find the cause, well, doggone it, doesn't the symptom go away? If you just treat the symptom all day long, you're not really going to ever fix the cause. And I know that's something you communicate to your patients on a very consistent basis. And it's just a truism, right? And that's the way I view health. That's the way I view chiropractic. It's got to be simple, right? And that's simple. Health is simple. It's really not that complicated. There's a lot to it, but it's not something somebody should ever sit and say, oh, I have no control over my health or my well-being. It's just not true.
There's a lot of power within us. Well, Doc, I absolutely love and appreciate that you came on the show and joined us and shared some of your wisdom. We really could have this show last another 2-3 hours with all the wisdom that you could pour into our folks, but I absolutely appreciate you, and I hope we can do this again sometime.
Oh, my pleasure, Dr. Chris. Be blessed, and I hope anybody that hears us rambling today gets something out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
If you found value in this video, please comment and let us know your biggest takeaway. We also ask that you don't keep this information to yourself. We ask that you share it with your friends and family by simply clicking the share button below.